starts now.
Flowers and a picture of a JSU student who was struck by a car set up near where the incident took place today. Leah Tarvin was hit outside Brewer Hall while using a crosswalk. The student was flown to UAB for treatment. And students and JSU Police Chief Michael Barton say they've seen several close calls on campus.
This semester and last semester, I've almost been hit myself. But there's another student that is in our classes. She was almost hit last Tuesday night in both directions.
There's two state highways, Highway 204 and Highway 21, that bisect the university. And so unfortunately, there have been individuals struck by vehicles before. One is too many.
Jacksonville State's president also focusing on problems with traffic near campus. In a statement, he says in part, quote, representatives from the university and the city of Jacksonville have met with the Alabama Department of Transportation as recently as March to request their assistance, but we're told that the crash data does not warrant additional precautions. Meanwhile, ALDOT released a statement saying pedestrian walkways near campus got safety upgrades a few years ago. Their statement says in part, the crosswalks are marked with advanced warning signs and other devices to warn drivers to yield for pedestrians, which is required by state law, end quote. It also says ALDOT will keep working with JSU to look at other safety measures. First to 9, Birmingham City leaders investing more in portable speed strips to reduce dangerous stunt driving. The city has used the strips at some intersections downtown. City leaders feel like they're working there, but they say exhibition drivers are just moving to new locations, so they're buying 50 more devices. Leaders are also working on stiffer penalties for stunt drivers. Another development along the Caraway Boulevard corridor on Birmingham's north side, the city suing a church-run development company for failing to complete this church building and daycare at Caraway and 12th Avenue North, just across from Topgolf. The city gave the land to the company run by the Trinity Christian Methodist Episcopal Church of Tarrant in 2014, with the church agreeing to finish the building by 2017. However, the building has been a shell for several years now. The city is seeking the return of the property, which is just a couple of blocks away from the Caraway Hospital redevelopment property and the proposed amphitheater. The federal prosecutors say a former corrections officer at Donaldson Prison is admitted to taking bribes and smuggling drugs. They say Wilson Brian Clemens used a fake name last November to create a Cash App account so he could take bribes from inmates at Donaldson. The correctional facility, and when he was caught, he tried to dump drugs and contraband just before he got to a checkpoint set up outside the prison. He's agreed to plead guilty and faces up to 5 years in prison. An update on those Tuscaloosa County school buses that burned near Englewood Elementary. The school leaders are telling us that they're very glad this didn't happen while students were on campus. The power lines fell on 2 buses, burning them. And figuring out why those power lines fell, though, is the next step.
Obviously that's still under investigation for the final cause, but what it appears is that there was a blown transformer and a power line fire, and that's what led to the school buses catching on fire.
Tuscaloosa County Schools says they have plenty of buses to plug in, so there was no problem getting students to school today. First at 9, the Jefferson County Democratic Party laying out their plans for what they call a voter protection team when you head to the polls on Tuesday. Jefferson County's Democratic Party says they plan to have volunteer poll watchers at every polling location across the county. They will also have a team of attorneys at a headquarters location in downtown, ready to take calls from voters who feel intimidated at a polling place or who worry that their vote is being suppressed.
We will be there to make sure your right to vote is protected, no matter who you are and no matter who you plan to vote for, because we believe every citizen should be able to vote without fear of suppression.
The party is encouraging everyone to double check your voter registration and polling location before Tuesday. Main Street, Alabama is coming to Talladega. It's an initiative to restore downtown buildings across the state. Main Street staff have been in Talladega all week to learn more about the community and what they can do to help. Tonight, there was a public presentation to show neighbors what Main Street wants to do. The city leaders say the project could really improve the city's bottom line, but it's about more than that.
Walking by an empty storefront is about $387,000 of non-growth. So if you think about some of the empty buildings we have here, we want to fill these buildings. We want to grow our tax bracket here. We want to have this for a place for youth, the deaf and blind community, young families.
Main Street's recommendations are based on what folks in Talladega have said they'd like to see.
And now, your first alert weather with WBRC Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt.
A mild Thursday night around the state. Temperatures right now in the 60s. Live look from the McQueen Science Center. First alert sky vision. Tomorrow, another warm day. We're going to have temperatures topping out close to 80 degrees. That's what we saw today. And another thing tomorrow, it is going to be breezy. Notice that wind out of the southeast, 10 miles per hour. We could see some gusts over 15 miles per hour. So probably not the best leaf cleanup day, especially in the afternoon. If you wait a little bit later in the day, maybe that wind will settle a little bit. But it's going to be kind of breezy until this next storm system moves our way. We're going to have some rain coming back this weekend. First off, as far as that wet weather goes, we stay dry for sideline tomorrow night. It looks like Saturday, showers arriving around the Birmingham area. That possibility is there around kickoff time. So UAB fans, be ready for the possibility of some wet weather. Baton Rouge, Starkville, both locations there for Alabama and Auburn fans during the day. There's going to be a pretty good chance in the morning, midday for some rainfall, but I think around kickoff time, both those games happening during the evening, it looks like the wet weather starts to thin out, become more isolated. So there's a chance we'll have some drier weather, but it could be kind of muggy, maybe even a little bit foggy there later on in the evening hours. But you see those kickoff temperatures, very mild for this time of the year. So here it comes, the next big thing that it's a front. It's going to have a line of rain and storms out ahead of it. It still looks like it rolls in by 10 a.m. on Saturday. There's a look at lunchtime there, and you can see even by that point along the I-65 corridor, notice around noon, we start to see a little bit of rain. Coleman, Good Hope, Hayden, Smoke Rise, back in towards places like Kimberly and Birmingham, Fultondale South. I think by 1 o'clock we'll start to see some of that rain there, even in parts of Chilton County. And then afternoon, watch what happens as this moves further east. It starts to kind of fall apart. And what's happening is the main energy with this, the main low pressure system, the support tracks way north. So it kind of leaves this behind. It slows down, stalls, weakens, and basically breaks up into a bunch of isolated to spotty showers late in the day. So the heaviest of the rain totals will happen areas further west, further east. Well, it becomes a bit more hit or miss by the evening. But some of those showers will be around through Saturday night and into Sunday. Can't rule out a couple of isolated showers, but you kind of get the picture there. Unsettled weather during the day on Saturday. No severe weather really expected, but could be a couple of rumbles in areas back to the west. We had Lisa. It's dissipated. A much weaker system you can see across the far southwest Gulf of Mexico. Not expecting that to enter the northern Gulf. We have Martin, which is way out in the Atlantic. That's moving away. A couple of disturbances that we're monitoring. I want to point this one out. Over the next 5 days, it's a non-tropical low. It's going to be tracking back towards Florida. And just want to give you the first alert. That system there could bring us some clouds and a few showers by next Thursday. So in the long range, that's something we're going to be watching on down the road. Right now, Election Day looks dry. High temperatures in the low 80s, but beyond Tuesday, you can see into Wednesday and Thursday, we have that chance for showers. Highs in the 70s. Again, don't forget Sunday we fall back this weekend. Daylight saving time ending. Great time to check those batteries in your alert devices, and we'll be watching for maybe a few isolated showers there on Sunday as well. A reminder, you can hear my forecast on your favorite iHeart radio stations across the state. Lots of updates also on the WBRC First Alert Weather app.
Thanks, Wes. Those warm temperatures won't stay around forever, so tonight we're on your side with some inexpensive ways to keep your home warm this winter. Crack filler is one example. Cahaba Heights Hardware says you should seal any holes in your home, especially around air conditioning lines. And there are other tools that you can buy yourself.
So some of the easiest things you can do, you can put window film on and get that taken care of. That's really easy to do. You just tape it around the window and hit it with a hairdryer. That works really good. Also, you got little foam weather stripping. Just make sure your doors and windows are sealed.
And with the temperatures we've been having so far, you may have another week or two to get your house prepared. A bizarre story from California this afternoon. A man from our area lived on Stanford University's campus for almost a year illegally, they say, posing as a student. Today, Vestavia City school officials confirmed that the man had been a Vestavia high school student. The university's newspaper confirms that 20-year-old William Curry stayed in at least 4 different dorms, and that he'd been on campus for nearly a year with the university's knowledge. Reporters with the Stanford Daily say the students that they spoke with were convinced that Curry was in fact a student.
sometimes climbed through windows. He sometimes was able to take a student's ID card, according to residents who lived with him last year. And he was getting let in a lot of the time by people who thought that either he was living there with them or he was a friend of somebody living in the dorm.
The Stanford University officials said in a statement obtained by CNN that the university's public safety department obtained stay-away letters to serve Curry, but they were not able to find him. They also say they're reviewing procedures to make sure that this doesn't happen again. That's it for this digital edition of WBRC First at 9. We'll see you right here and on TV after the ballgame.